Okay, so let's start this session. We have already some more participants connected. We may have more people joining this interactive session. This to close this first day of FIT4RRI final summit in a virtual environment. So to finalize this day, we are going to discuss about community involvement for RRI towards the development of an RRI trainers community of practice. And to discuss, and for this discussion, we have 3 moments. Eloy Rodrigues from the University of Minho, that is part of FIT4RRI project also, and was the coordinator of Foster Open Science projects. We'll start with a flash talk, a brief presentation, sharing with us some of the lessons learned from Foster and some of the issues that Foster also addressed related with sustainability and related with the continuation of the main results of Foster. And then Iryna Kuchma from EIFL, and that is in fact the chair of the training coordinators community of practice, and that is coordinated by Open Air and with the participation of several other research infrastructures and projects. Will present this experience, the work around this trainers coordinators community of practice, and some outputs, some results, and some lessons learned, because in fact the community of practice is in a kind of phase of looking to what they have already done and prepare the future. So it's an interesting moment also for Iryna to share with us. And with these 2 presentations, we can then open the discussion. We will have 2 Mentimeters that the idea is basically, and then you can already start thinking about that. So putting the questions about if the communities of practice can be a solution for maintaining tools, materials, trainers, networks, trainers' competencies and skills. So think about that. So we will have a question about that to share. And what may be the actions toward the development of an RRI trainers community of practice at the national level, at the regional level, at the institutional level. So think about that, then we can discuss a bit. So I give the floor to Eloy and to Iryna. So I hope that both presentations can help us to discuss and to give you some ideas about these 2 questions that we want to address in this session. So Eloy, the floor is yours. You can share your screen presentation and move. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Good morning all, and it's a pleasure to be here with you today on this final summit of the FIT4RRI project. And what I'll try to do in a few minutes is just to give you a very brief account of what were the discussions and what were the preliminary solutions that we found related with Foster. And as I will tell you, this is still an ongoing work that we are still having on finding solutions for the sustainability of Foster results. So just very briefly, I think all of you will know about Foster. Foster was a kind of 2-phase project. We had the first phase from 2014 to 2016. That on that phase we produced a lot of results. The first version of the Foster portal. We collected more than 2,000 training materials. We created the open science taxonomy, defined learning objectives for different target groups and stakeholders, and run a very intense training program with more than 100 face-to-face training events and 25 online courses and we reach out to around more than 6,000 people. Then from May to 2017 to April 2019, we have the second phase of Foster that we call Foster Plus. that was more focused on the practical, while the first phase of Foster was most focusing on kind of awareness raising for the benefits and the need of open science practices. This second phase, we tried to make it more practical oriented, so making people capable of really implementing open science practices, especially the requirements of open science that were embedded on Horizon 2020, both for open access and for data management. On the second phase, we also I think we achieved a lot of results. So we reached out to more than 8,000 people. We had more than 300 events, and we run 10 trainer boot camps that resulted in more than 100 follow-up events from participants from those boot camps. And also we had e-learning courses and open science toolkit that I will talk just briefly. And it was really an overall project reaching all the European Union space. So at the end of the project, we had kind of main results apart from in the first place the portal itself with their resources, the training resources, with the trainers corner. This is, of course, since the first phase of the project, a very important asset of the project. But then I think we have produced especially two very relevant outputs: the Open Science Training Handbook and the Open Science Toolkit. One targeting trainers, so to help trainers to prepare and to develop training events in different formats, and the other one targeted at researchers, again trying to make practical guidance for researchers to practice open science. And more than just a project, Foster was really trying to create a training support network by creating a trainers that trainers network supported by in a training directory on the Foster portal, and leveraging and amplifying the training capacity and the training community, both at the institutional level and also at community or disciplinary level, and trying to build synergies with relevant initiatives. Since the beginning, or since the alpha of the project, we had the purpose of discussing and trying to find solutions for sustainability. And when we had at the midterm of the project, when we had the first meeting with the advisory board, we have identified two scenarios for what we call the sustainability, some kind of basic requirements for sustainability, and extended value or value-added requirements for sustainability. And then on the last 6 months of the project, we revisit that exercise, and we agreed that we should try to focus on the basic requirements. The extended requirement will require a lot more of resources that would be realistic to find at that moment. And then I will show you a very simplified version of what we have done. It was a longer version of this table with much more items and even also some other columns, but just to give you the synthesis of what we thought. So we had the part of the infrastructure, and mainly the tools, so the Foster training portal, the ADAPT tool, also the LMS, the learning management system that I did not put here on this slide. And then we identify what was needed on each of those. And again, this is just a sample of what we have identified, and what was the effort required to sustain it at this basic level, again, because we also identify what was the level of effort for the advanced level, and it was more effort than this one. And then we identify kind of a short, medium-term sustainability plan that was designed on the table. We said 12 months, but we really thought since the beginning on a kind of 18-month period. So basically until the end of this year of 2020. And we said that partners, especially the technical partner from FOSSER that was and is Open University, will be able to sustain it, partially supporting on the effort that is available also here on the FIT4RRI project. But on the long term, we would need to find collaborations or funding from for third parties, for instance, from OpenAir or from EOSC related projects or initiatives. And then again, this is just a part of what we have identified. We have the kind of the social part and the more kind of lightweight services and resources that was, for instance, related with maintaining the trainers' registry and the network, and moderating new training content or supporting new e-learning courses. And for that also, we identify the needed effort. Of course, in many cases, the effort will also depend on the number of courses, of interactions that were needed. And we said that for those kind of more light things, we said that that could be supported by the open air community of practice that was already being established at that moment when we had this discussion, and explore other collaborations. And or in some cases, for instance, the core partners from FOSSER, like Minho, EIFL, Iryna was also one of the core persons in FOSSER, Göttingen, and others will also contribute voluntary work to sustain all this. So to conclude, what we thought on FOSSER is that maybe communities of practice and good, willing, and engaged people and organizations that are already working on training could be the adequate solution for maintaining both content and trainers network, and eventually some kind of very light services. But for the infrastructure and other value-added services, some funding from projects or other sources and or partnerships with established organizations are needed really to maintain it on the long term. So and this is my final slide. What we have been trying to identify and to explore some strategic routes and opportunities for partnerships and sustainability, and we will we will certainly accelerate this as we are approaching the end of the year, because at the time being yet we have not been completely we are not completely identify or sure about the solutions. For there are some possibilities, but it's not completely secure what would be the solution or the solutions for sustained FOSSER beyond 2021. And that's our main lesson from FOSSER. Thank you.
Thank you, Eloy. So we continue now with a practical solution that is being carried on by the community of practice, and Iryna Kuchma from EIFL, that is the chair of this community of practice, will present us and share with us the main results, the work that is being carried in this community, and some lessons learned also.
Thanks a lot for inviting me, and glad to see you all. And please, those of you who are also part of this community of practice for training coordinators, add if I miss something. So we are celebrating this month 2 years. Yeah, that's a problem that I sometimes envision, that slides don't move. So, sorry, let me do it again. It's like it freezes on the first one. Second try, it works. Sorry about that. This informal community of practice is hosted by OpenAir, and it was meant to be an informal space for exchanging experiences among people who coordinate training initiatives in research and infrastructures, national training initiatives, and also institutional training initiatives. And if you're not a member yet, and if you're interested, here is a URL. And we have a mailing list with 63 members. We host monthly online meetings. We are 2 years, so we had 24 meetings, and we have a rolling notes document available from that page, which I showed earlier. And we also had a series of face-to-face meetings at different events where training coordinators were present. And that was our very first joint face-to-face event where we looked at open pages for training, skills framework, discoverability of training materials, and making an impact with training activities. And these are more or less the topics that we keep discussing these days. And our largest joint event was a 3-day workshop hosted by DANCE with support from EOSC Secretariat in February this year. And we produced a report providing some recommendations to rules of participation for EOSC training service providers, and also guidelines for organizations providing services. So that was our, I guess, largest joint achievement. And we think that existence of this community of practice contributed to the launch of EOSC Skills and Training Working Group, which is chaired by Natalia Manola and Vincent Gallard from European University Association. So because we've been advocating for this for a while, so that's I think a great achievement. And now we're going through evaluation, and I'll show you some responses that we received so far, because this evaluation is still ongoing. So we asked our members what were the most useful activities, and you can see that they said exchange news on training activities during meetings, and also during online meetings, and also discuss issues with training activities during our monthly calls. Then also attending face-to-face workshops was mentioned as useful activity, and collaboratively organizing those face-to-face workshops, providing suggestions on EOSC training. And then these other responses were other responses, for example, discuss gaps between open science training. And speaking about main achievements, so there is a feeling that we are a real network and a community. And it's really great to see new people joining in, and it's a space for exchanging experiences and an opportunity to organize joint events. It's a collaboration space where we could share problems and find solutions together. And it was also great to see that those who responded, majority were still happy with the community, and there was just a small percentage maybe still happy. I think is a good result. And then these are some of the lessons learned and the recommendations to change, because now this community is hosted and coordinated by OpenAir, and members felt that maybe rotating chairmanship would help to get more commitment from members. We usually don't have a defined structure for the calls. Sometimes we do when we prepare joint events or joint documents, but usually it's just a free exchange of experiences. And there was a suggestion that maybe, although it's still an informal community, but maybe a little bit more structure is needed. And people were commenting that informal nature is something that they really value, but maybe it would be good to have some goals for the year and try to achieve those goals. It was also mentioned that it's a network that is considered a voice in European training discussions, and maybe we can use this voice to make more joint statements. And some suggestions how we could continue, that maybe we could have informal roundtable sharing of experiences, explore new horizons in open science training, because we've been mainly focusing on current activities, continue joint organization of events, and identifying some concrete outputs. And that was interesting learning from a person who is also a part of another discipline-specific community of practice for trainers and training event organizers, that in our community, it seems like we have two strengths. So one is supporting trainers, and then another one collecting and publishing best practices, and maybe that's something we should focus more and provide some more concrete outputs, because sometimes we discuss a lot of useful things, but then we document those discussions in the notes or minutes, but we don't release them as public documents, and maybe that's something that we could do, as well as maybe co-develop training materials. And now we are planning an open virtual workshop in the end of October on GDPR and training, how to make sure that you organize your training events that are fully GDPR compliant. And if you're interested in this topic, please join us. And this community is coordinated together with Ellen Lenartz and René van Horik from DANS. Thanks.
Okay, Iryna, many thanks. So many thanks to Eloy and to Iryna to help us with this discussion. So community involvement for RRI towards the development of an RRI trainers community of practice. This was the motto for this discussion. So what we really want to have your to discuss here in the coming 20-25 minutes. And for that we will support our discussion based on Mentimeter, but if you can turn on your microphone and camera, so please feel free to activate, to enable. So this is an open session. Even Eloy and Iryna, you can. So I know that Iryna don't have the webcam, but Eloy, you can turn on, and let's have an open discussion about that. You can also use the chat if you want, but let's say that I prefer to have webcams and microphones open. So feel free to join me with your microphone and camera. So all of you, and in between, so you can already access menti.com. You can use your mobile phone, or just open in a tab of your browser menti.com, and then add this code 7599760, and you can access. We have two questions here. I just want to use this minute just to ensure that everyone is connected. So I see already more than almost 15 people. So you can use the. I think it's important if you can connect. and then we can discuss. So Iryna
Pedro,
was already, yeah, Aro,
Pedro, I have a question.
please.
So it's obviously important to sustain and foster the communities of practice of trainers, and this is important to help responsible research and innovation. Yet, on the other hand, it may also create a distance between, say, business as usual in industry and research organizations, and RRI. So it suggests that RRI is different from business as usual, and that reinforces this idea that it's not part of our daily business. How do you see? So this is a question for the both presenters. So how do you see this dilemma of creating RRI as something special by having this community practice?
Yes, I'll leave the floor to Eloy and to Iryna if they want to answer. So the issue is here. I think the question make a lot of sense. But what we have here, and it was one of my challenges that I have listed in my last slide in the previous session. The challenges that we have at the end of FIT4RRI projects regarding training activities. So what we need here is we are supporting a group of people that within their organizations, within their companies, within their institutions, they are supporting RRI and open science practices. So they are part of that environment, but they have be empowered, they have gained training to work with others initiatives like FIT4RRI so what we have the challenges here is to sustain the tools and the services that we have created, but also to keep to empower these trainers or these people around training activities around RRI and open science that are part of a community, but they are part of the institution. They are part of the organization that they belong. So we don't want to have this separation, I think, from my perception. But so Iryna, from the perspective of the infrastructures, and Eloy, also from.
I can also add that because it's a new scene, it reinforces the need to have more trainings and to have this community to support each other. Because I'm not directly involved in RRI training, but I was analyzing feedback received to strategic research and innovation EOSC consultation and many organizations who participated said that if we want to achieve this culture change, and that's what we're doing with EOSC and FAIR and Open Science, then we need to have more coordinated training initiatives, because that's one of the major needs and vehicles to enable this culture change.
Yeah, I can probably just add to what Iryna said. I see your point, Aro, and of course, in a perfect world, we will not need to train people about RRI or open science, because that will be embedded on their initial training, on their initial business thinking, or their initial education framework, etc. But currently, I think that it's still needed. I'm completely sure it is still needed for open science, because it's the RRI I know more about, and I'm pretty convinced that it's also still need, at least on the academic institutions like my university, this is really still needed, because it's not yet part of the regular culture as it should be. So at least for the time being, I don't know for how long, I think it's useful and needed.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Aro. So, any other questions? Just please join the discussion, enable your microphone and camera, and let's proceed with this discussion. In the meantime, we have already here the first question to the audience, and to proceed with this discussion. Communities of practice can be a solution for maintaining the tools that we have presented, some of them that we have presented in the previous session, material services, and trainers networks and skills. We have here 6 options. You can select 1, 2, or 3, maximum 3. So now we have 8 for yes, absolutely, and yes, but only partially. Yes to the network of trainers, not for the tools. Yes for communities, to develop communities in institutions or at the national level. Not at all, 0. Okay, no, we need robust initiatives. Okay, 3. Okay, thank you for all these replies. Thank you very much. So feel free also, Eloy and Iryna, to comment. I think we have here the feeling that so developing communities of practice is something that is relevant for the sustainability of the training solutions that we have addressed. Emma also from Orion, feel free to jump in and to share some thoughts, because you have also mentioned some in your final remarks some issues that we need to address, so feel free to jump in. Do you have any comment about this, Iryna, Eloy? And base it also on this, and Iryna, base it also on these answers, and if you compare with this survey that you are running, I think it's a confirmation of the importance of organizing ourselves in community of practices. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I support, and of course, ideally, we need robust initiatives. But if there are no robust initiatives, even informal community of practice could do a lot.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's also my just sorry, Pedro. It's also my vision, as I stated. I think for sustaining the trainers network, I think the community of practice can be really a very lightweight and efficient solution. But for other type of services, especially if we need to have some kind of infrastructural related services, then we need more robust initiatives.
Yeah, thank you. So Ron, feel free to make your comment or question, statement. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a statement, but I'm sure people will come back to me, because I'm going to be heretical here. And I think it needs to be done. It needs to be said, because if you're constructing a community of practice, you have to be aware. I mean, it's back to the issue of transparency that we're trying to raise across all of the research ethics and integrity projects. So yeah, to be heretical, for example, this question: who's gonna tick the not at all box? We've got I would say 5 positives and 1 negative, right? You've got to balance that out better. And you know, who's going to say no? Now the issue here is that we are in some senses preaching to the converted. Let me say right away, I'm supportive both of RRI, of course, and also to some degree of open science. But I am concerned that we don't see the how the critical challenges are addressed, and we don't see that in a community of practice, because these are the converted. These are the people who want to go out and train and promote and evangelize, for want of a better term. And you know, let me really even go back to the original René von Schomburg's conference in 2011. There were thousands of people there, in my view, well, hundreds perhaps. And we developed a concept map that had everything in it. Nothing was excluded. Now, there is a real danger, both with open science and with RRI, that, you know, you're just saying something that nobody can possibly challenge. Now, I have come across challenges, certainly to open science, concerns which I find I need to address for my own purposes. This is even outside of ProRes, let's say. But I am concerned about predatory publishing, and I don't see how open science really deals with that. You know, I've tried to find a good answer to it, and I don't find it. I'm really interested in transparent peer review, because again, it's one of the critical comments that people who are concerned about open science raises. And I want to run transparent peer review, but I can see the difficulties associated with it. Open data is essential to open science. Transparent peer review is essential to open science. But how do you do it well? How do you do it properly without saying, it becomes tokenist? That's the real danger. So forgive my heresies, but in order to be able to address these kinds of criticisms, I mean, I have plenty of colleagues, scientists who say, oh, don't talk to me about open science because it raises too many concerns and issues, particularly if they want to run a, spin-off company and make money for themselves. And they're talking about protecting their area, their niche area, their market, and so on. So those are the things that we really have to address. And certainly when we design even Menti questionnaires, let's be clear that there should be an even amount of negative against positive, supportive comments.
Yeah, thank you, Ron. For sure, for sure, Iryna and Eloy have something to say. I think I agree with you that the part, okay, we are talking to those that are already converted, but communities of practice, we need them also to support those that are already converted because they need support. So they need to access good practices, to access use cases, to improve their capabilities to do their job properly. And this is my feeling. So last week, for example, we had a training bootcamp, RRI and Open Science Train the Trainers bootcamp. It was an incredible bootcamp. I was quite happy because we were a bit afraid because we moved from face-to-face to completely online environment. And at the end of the 5 days of the bootcamp, my feeling was that, okay, I'm happy because I did something. I was doing the bootcamp for the converted people, as you said, but they need this. So they need more tools, more good practices, better materials in order to do their job internally in the proper way in their institutions, to talk with those that are not converted or those that have lots of doubts about open peer review, about sharing and open data and this kind of thing. So there is a job for, I understand what you said and it's important, but there is a job for the community of practice to support those that are doing this work. So Eloy, I don't know if you have something.
For the first part of the community of practice, I understand the question raised by Ron, but I generally agree with your view, Pedro, about the need of those that are already converted. And I think this sounds a little bit strange because it seems like a religious group, but they need support to convert other people or to what they think that it's a good thing. Related the questions that you raised for open science, I also partly agree with you, Ron, that for instance the point of transparent peer review and accountability, and not only transparent review, but I think probably I will be even more erratic than you, and say, for instance, and replying to your question that predatory publishing is kind of a result of open science, and open science is not dealing with it. I think you may be partly right that predatory publishing was a result of a starting of a model based on paying publication APCs that I completely, for instance, I don't believe that the future of publication based on APCs is a good future. It's a very probable future, but I think it will have very bad consequences, not only economically, but really for the quality of research and science. And for instance, I'm probably even more erratic than you, and I will say that many, like myself, we think that we need to move forward and be more innovative on publication. Probably we need to move forward, for instance, journals, as we know them. They were a social construct that was very useful on the print era, but maybe now the cost-benefit ratio of having journals with all the prestige system around them and the evaluation based on journal impact factors, etc., is a bad thing. So some like myself, and I see, for instance, also now MIT and you see Berkeley just launched a review project related with COVID-19, we talk about overlay publishing. So you have a result, you publish it on a public space, on a repository, on a preprint server, and then quality control and peer review can be done again transparently, and people can be accountable for what is going on. So I probably will be even more radical, and I think open science, again, open science is not paying through APCs. This is a solution that a small part of people that work on open science will say that this is the preferred solution, but there are many other solutions that are probably more innovative, and they will not, they try to address some of the issues that you raised.
So,
okay, Birgit, please.
May I? So I also wanted to respond to what Ron said. I mean, the idea of a trainer, from my perspective, is not to turn people into preachers. I mean, in the sense of you have to face the challenge that there will be open questions. You don't have the answers, and you try to figure out a way forward. And always, I would leave it open to the people what they choose first in terms of where they would like to get active in terms of open science. And there will be different routes. Some will just concentrate on, I want to work with data, and I change my workflows or whatever. And the openness is at the far end of what I consider, and not today or not tomorrow, but maybe when I publish next time, I will have a statement on data availability, and gradually they come closer to what we aim for. But I will never tell them, this is what you should do. I mean, this is really up to you. It's your decision, and these are your options, and they might help you a little bit along the way in doing good research, and you might be conservative in many aspects, and in others you might have a bit of room of movement, because I mean they try to sustain their careers, of course. I mean, all these early career researchers we talk to, I mean, they have an issue there. I mean, you cannot just do it. You have some room, but it's also very constrained. And when advisors in the room, they get more constrained as well, because they always point to, yeah, there is these open access journals, but well, I'm not sure if the quality is apart from a few examples like eLife and so on. I mean, they always are cautious first, and then they have some good journals as well. But it's really something which is evolving, and you have to live with these insecurities and see what's possible, and open up the, I mean, and I love it when they discover on their own. I mean, discovering Zenodo. I mean, I have seen this quite a few times where I didn't have to tell them more if they discover other concepts, and then you have, but they are lonely as well. And so in that sense, I'm more into organizing communities and be there as someone who is around since a long time, but not as the one who has all answers. This is ridiculous. I mean, and for a community of practice, I would always think, live with this insecurity and nourish your communities locally. I mean, in the sense, there might be a lonely teacher, trainer, and then you have these national networks and these international networks, and it's of course not the last word of just training someone. It's a journey as well. So,
I'm glad to hear all those responses. I mean, obviously, I was trying to stir things a little bit. I'm not entirely against the community of practice, and I think it's absolutely essential. But what we must avoid is any complacency about these, and that's why I made this point. In the ProRes project, we're using a phrase, continuous discursive engagement. And I think that encapsulates what we're after here, because, you know, I've been training in a community of trainers, if you like, very informal one, not as networked as this is, in research ethics for 30 years. And I can say, I mean, the interesting thing for me was, I was preaching. It was a certain religious conversion, there's no doubt about it, to convince people how important to think in terms of first research ethics and then research integrity, which came after it, in my view. I see the umbrella concept as research ethics. But just out of interest, the people who challenged and resisted more than anything, when I was training UK universities, I would go in and they'd bring in people from all the departments, and the people who said things like, it has nothing to do with us and the work we do, were the economists. The economists thought that ethics had nothing to do with their research. and look at this was pre-2008 even, right? And look at the dangers that has actually created. So, I'm glad you gave me the responses you gave. I think it is important to keep that continuous discursive engagement. Do not assume everybody understands this. Do not assume that everybody is in sympathy. You need to know, and the trainers need to know, how to deal with challenges and why it continues to be important. Thank you very much for allowing me that.
And I think it's also about growing together, because what we see in our community of practice that research infrastructures who joined 2 years ago, they didn't even have any open science training programs. They were always asking us to come and help them out. And now they are driving open science developments in Europe. For me, that was a pleasant learning exercise going back through those minutes 2 years back.
Yeah. Not sure if someone else want to join. So we have 6 to 12 minutes more. We can use it. I also want to share something. So this experience of the community of practice that Iryna shows is managed by people that are in charge of coordinating training initiatives at the research infrastructure level, at big European project level. So it's quite important. In fact, it's quite important to empower each training coordinator, but also to align initiatives, etc. But what I'm worried about is at the national level, in the institution level, because I think the needs of sharing experience, learning with each other, are at an institutional and national level. In some big research institutions, universities, there are different people, from the research manager to the lab manager to the librarian to a project coordinator, that in fact need to work together to address some issues, and it's possible to have institutional community of practice. And I believe a lot in countries like Portugal, my country, in developing a community of practice at the national level, because we are a small country. The type of issues that we have are more or less the same in different institutions. And in fact, last week, when we did the training boot camp, the last session was with the trainers from that boot camp, and we invite the trainers those participants that have benefited from the training of previous boot camps, the boot camp that we did in the Portuguese and Brazilian Open Access Conference, and another boot camp we did together with Spain, with colleagues from Spain. And we invite them all to join for a session where we discuss the future of this community. If we can do something, so we have 3 groups of trainers that have benefit from training from Foster Open Science and from FIT4RRI. Maybe we can learn from each other, and we have decided to start something. Let's see what we will have it. But we have started last Friday a community of practice for Portugal, and the first objective is really to share experience. But this is the last thing I want to say. Apart from this, so to learn together and to grow up together and to increase our capabilities together, is that we may have, from the fact that we are collaborating, it may appear opportunities. It may have the opportunity to ask for a funding from a specific call for a project, or just develop a simple project that we ask private funding from a foundation or from something else. So people are also joining in this community of practice at the national level. I think this is critical. And we may have new opportunities of collaborating, of networking, to develop other services and to sustain some of the services that we are already using. This is another point that it's important also. So there are some opinions here around the actions toward this development of an RRI and open science trainers community of practice. so we can address this developing of the community of practice at a national level, at a European or another kind of regional level, or at the institutional level. So we have different opinions, and thank you for that. So a combination of institutional support and national pressure, RRI and open science, will benefit from pressures to address such issues. Regional level, including civil servants directly implementing policies, innovation, and developing agencies and universities, research centers, innovation managers. Okay. Okay, we have a question. So I'm just opening and sharing some of the contributions already for the chat. So we have a question from Andrea. Okay, yes. Andrea Morgado. She's asking about, you need to turn on your microphone.
Andrea is asking if there's any additional information on the Portuguese community of practice.
Okay, thank you, Andrea. Not yet, as I said, it was a decision we took last Friday. University of Minho will start that. We'll create a mailing list. So please share with us privately if you want your email, and we will include you. Okay, you can share with me or with Antonia. Thank you.
And there is one more thing that I forgot to mention, that the reason we started our community of practice is that we all had questions and we didn't know whom to ask for answers, or we had issues, like for example now when we had to move all our training online. And I guess that's the reason why our community is still going, because we still have questions and issues and we need answers. So I can imagine that there might be areas where people are comfortable with what they're doing and they don't have any questions and issues, and then of course you don't need to create an artificial community for that. So it's really helping us to do what we're doing, and that's the reason why we're still involved and committed. But if you can do without that, then that's perfect.
Yeah, thank you, Iryna. Emma, I also invite you, if you want to join, to say something, as you also put some questions in the previous session, so feel free to.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, it was just one thing I wanted to raise, and you just touched on it just now, actually, in terms of adapting to online learning. And just one of the experiences we had in Orion recently was that because we made our Train the Trainer online, we were able to open it up to a more global community, and we did in fact get we have participants from across the world. Like I think it's like 17 different countries for 21 different participants. So I think when this is all over, when the pandemic is all over, I think we should think about how we actually train people and how the training can be inclusive and exclude people depending on how the format that it takes, and the advantages of online training in terms of including people from different groups and different places. So that was just something I wanted to raise as a kind of general point. And I think this, the thing with the community of practice, again, let maybe picking up a little on Ron's point, let's not be too insular. Let's get perspectives from other people, and who maybe haven't been part of this conversation traditionally, and just ensure we're doing that. I know everybody wants to do that, but I think this is an opportunity to kind of reevaluate perhaps some of our formats and methods going forward. So that's all I really wanted to say, and thank you for everybody's contributions.
Okay. Thank you, Emma. So we are coming to the end. So we have 1 or 2 minutes more just to finish this last session of the day. So we have discussed a bit about, so we have learned from the trainers, coordinators, community of practice with Iryna, Kuchma, the work that they are doing, and the main outputs and the objectives and the and they are already thinking about the future. So based on the experience of 2 years, Eloy, Rodrigues shared with us all the issues that the Foster Open Science project need to address when we finish the Foster portal, Foster project. Foster, some of the Foster outputs, in fact, have had a continuation with FIT4RRI, and we have increased and improved the Foster portal with more materials, more courses based on the activity within FIT4RRI, and not only from FIT4RRI. In fact, all the community have so can use the portal, and in fact, some parts of the community have contributed to the increase of and the increase of the content available in Foster. So I think we are aligned that communities of practice can be a way to sustain some of the things that we are developing. For sure, they are not enough. We also need robust initiatives, and we need to embed and to have in each institution, different organizations, the knowledge to address these critical issues around RRI and open science practices. But we have already some people organizing themselves. I gave the example from Portugal, and we have the community of practice of training coordinators, and we have lots of people also some people also sharing here that in fact we need at the institutional or at the national level to do something, to work with different people, civil servants, put together in a group of practice, different players and the stakeholders in the institutions. So we have different so we have actions to do. So thank you all for your contributions to this session. Even in FIT4RRI, we need to produce a sustainability report. This is always an issue when we have projects like FIT4RRI, where we are developing things, tools, services. So we need, for sure, these contributions will be part of our sustainability report towards the implementation of this community of practice. So thank you all for sharing this to contribute to this meeting. So I was just checking here if I'm sharing the screen. Okay. So tomorrow we will continue for the second day. So Eloy and Iryna, I don't know if you want to say something to finalize, but I will just present the day tomorrow as we have some people connected. Okay, thank you, Eloy and Iryna. So tomorrow we will have the second day of our FIT4RRI final summit. So every morning, so it's 3 hours sessions in the morning tomorrow and on the 1st of October. And the structure is exactly the same. We open the day at 9:30, 8:30 for Portugal and UK, with a keynote. Today was focused on cultural and skills, RRI cultural and skills. Tomorrow is RRI and institutional change. Okay, we will have the keynote addressing this issue, RRI and institutional change. Then we have 2 parallel sessions, and the parallel sessions are both focused on institutional change, based on the experience and the co-creation experiments that we did in FIT4RRI, and also we will have the contributions from 2 other projects, Territorial and GRACE projects, European projects. And then we finish the day. We finished the sessions in the morning with an interactive session like we had today, helping your organizations trigger institutional change to foster RRI and open science. So see you tomorrow. Please pay attention to your email. We are sending reminders this afternoon and tomorrow early in the morning. We are sending also emails for you with presentations and with recordings about the sessions from today. Thank you all for joining the sessions today for this first day of the final summit of FIT4RRI. Hope to see you tomorrow. Okay, bye bye. See you tomorrow. Thank you all.